Hey friends, welcome back to the Light Up Your Metabolism podcast. Today I have an amazing interview for you with my good friend Kelli Ritter. I met her at the Return to Nature retreat in Tennessee, and she is just such a lovely human being. You are going to love her energy and this episode. We talked, she's an anxiety specialist and mental health specialist. And I love that there's so many people now who have all different expertise. And they've also studied circadian and quantum health. So the idea of looking at light and frequency and energy and water and magnetism and all these things on our health, and how the same strategies that I teach you all to help support your blood sugar are also the same strategies you need to support your anxiety and your mental health and expanding your resilience and your capacity to be with emotions. And so I love that throughout these episodes, no matter which expert I'm interviewing, whether it has to do with your eyes or your autoimmunity or anxiety or blood sugar or weight loss, it's the same. It's the same because we are human beings and we need light and we connected to nature and to the rhythms of nature in order to heal. And so I just want to point you to the fact that this is a thread that you are going to keep seeing. And sometimes we need to hear our own symptom brought up and spotlighted to say, I really got to do this. I really got to do that light thing. I really got to get the blue blockers. I'm gonna try seeing sunset. And so sometimes, again, it just takes naming something that we really resonate with, that we really don't want to experience anymore, in order for us to get that buy-in to make these changes. There are so many people who come to see me and they sign up for Blood Sugar Mastery and they say they follow my podcast, they follow my content on Instagram, yet they haven't tried some of the things that I'm talking about. So I want you to listen to this episode with an open mind and see what resonates for you. We also take a really deep dive into things like emotional capacity and understanding emotions, because this is also another thing I'm really getting into, because once again, this is all frequency, and our mitochondria are sensors for what's going on internally and what we're experiencing externally outside of our body. So the light in our environment is hugely important, and our internal environment is just as important. What emotions are we suppressing? What emotions are we pushing away and not wanting to feel? All of these things impact our health just the same. And so I'm really excited to bring you this episode with Kelli. Make sure you check out the show notes. I left all her links and everything, her information there. So thank you again for Kelli for being here, and let's dive into the interview. Hi, Kelli. I'm so thankful that you're here. Welcome to the Light Up Your Metabolism podcast.
Thank you, Dani. I'm so excited to be with you. I consider you a soul sister now, so this will be really fun.
Yeah, so Kelli and I met at the recent Return to Nature retreat, and we were sitting across from each other at the dinner where it was, I don't know if you guys saw my stories, but where our feet were literally in a river, like we were standing in like a little creek, and for the ultimate grounded experience. And we realized we had so much in common, and we have a similar learning history and probably emotional and just health history. So why don't you start us off with wherever you feel like starting and tell us your story?
Yeah, well, we should talk about that river or the creek dinner, because that was so amazing, and I almost didn't go. And I guess I had a really bad headache that was coming and going. I am so grateful, first of all, because the company was amazing, but that was one of the most amazing experiences. But I also was really loving, so the food was lovely. It was farm to table. But when that dessert came, I was like, I don't care, Dani, you can watch. I'm eating this shit.
I ate it too. It was so good.
I was so excited that you were going to eat it too.
Everyone looks at me as like the blood sugar police. Like, I'm glad you brought this up, because it's okay that this is out of order or whatever it is, because I am not the blood sugar police. Like, I want people to know that when in Rome, like I live my life. And so I talk about the difference between like a healing phase and a maintenance phase. And I think that the goal is for us to be able to get to a place where we can indulge when we're sitting with our feet in a river and have some dessert, when we're outside talking with friends, and to have that amount of balance in our lives. Like a lot of my clients, as I'm sure you would probably agree with this, because you probably get people like this too, who feel this like that perfectionistic type of, I can't do this, this is not on my plan, or this is cheating, or all those things. And that actually, I would argue, dysregulates us even more. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, I have that myself. Like I can feel that tension in myself, and I don't want to start a spiral downward because I decided to have some mascarpone with bacon and maple. That was the dessert, right? But I'm with you. The more stressed you are, we were having, our whole systems were regulated by the environment, the frequencies that were available to us at that table.
Yeah.
And that just digests differently than when you are stressed out about it, or if you've got a lot of noise going on in your head about what you should and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, shaming yourself, feeling guilty about it. That's really different energetically what's
Yeah,
happening. And I just don't think that could be ignored.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think it's a big piece, especially in nutritional therapists.
Mhm.
Like that's just a piece that seems to get missed. Like this,
I agree.
we really are electric beings. It really is about frequency and the thoughts that we have, the feelings that we have. That changes that changes our blood sugar. That
Yeah.
changes how we digest, our gut health.
Yeah.
So I know you and I are big fans of the circadian rhythms and the
Hmm.
light and all the things, but I think there is something really important too about the connection. It was a connecting experience to
Yeah.
be at that event in general,
Yeah.
but especially that night. So,
Yeah.
and you're right, there
I,
are
yeah.
healing phases and there are maintenance. I don't even know about maintenance. Like, I just think there are seasons in life, like seasons.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it's trial and error.
Yeah, for sure. And we could come back to that seasonal concept, but
Yeah.
why don't you take us through how you got to what you do and where you are today?
Yeah, it's a windy road, so I'll just be as quick as possible.
We have
So
time.
my background is it's fine. Don't rush. My background's in clinical mental health, and
Mm.
so I was always the odd one out, right? Like I was always going, do we really? Do we? And I did not like a medical model. I did not work from a medical model. I do not. It's not that I don't think it has a place. It's just not how I work.
Yeah.
And so I was always questioning everything, and I was always more of a health and wellness guidance. And so that's why I went and got my doctorate in counseling instead of psychology, because it was just much more human potential related.
Yeah.
So then, you're rocking along, and I worked with children and families. I was a play therapist. So I loved teaching. I was a professor, qualitative researcher. I was rocking along, having a great time and always had my own health issues though, kind of like underlying. But I look back, I'm like, yeah, because I taught at night and the weekends. I was indoors in bright light, like I had had babies. So I was less and less in a bathing suit, trying to cover up and
Hmm.
all the things that led to more and more health problems. But that's a whole nother story. So my dad got diagnosed with cancer in like 2009. And it really took me on a deep journey
Yeah.
around, I'm a qualitative researcher, I'm a little bit of a control freak in recovery. And so my way of kind of being on top of that was to research. And I started interviewing people who had healed from different types of cancer. And every single one of them, I learned a lot from all of them, but every single one of them talked about changing their diet. So
Hmm.
then I went back into the research. And for me, it was really more about gut healing. I got really fascinated with gut healing. And then, of course, the gut brain axis and how much our neurotransmitters are almost all of our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. And I was like, wait, why are we not teaching this? Why are we not working with people in this way? So that's eventually I went back to school to become a nutritional therapist and started incorporating it. And a lot like you at first, the way it was healing my own life, and nutrition was a huge piece of my own healing. And then my dad died in 2012, but I was able to feed him and nourish him. And I felt really good about that. And I've always been kind of a foodie anyway. So it was really fun to dig into the nutrition piece of it. And at first, in my holistic psychotherapy practice, it was really the people who would listen, because I have to say, when people come for anxiety, stress, depression, mood stuff, or trauma. I did a lot of work in trauma recovery, and not a lot of people wanted to talk about their food. And I really wanted to talk about their food. And so when 2020 came and I had to give up my office and it was, everything went online, I switched to nutritional. I just did mental health nutrition at that point. So I was like, I'm just going to tell you up front, we're talking about your food. So if you don't want to do that, don't come to me.
Love it.
And at first, it was making a huge difference for people until it didn't. Right?
Yes.
See? And that's
Yes.
why when you were talking, I started crying because I was like, yes. And I just knew it was blood sugar. Dani, I was like, when people are on the anxiety, depression roller coaster, it does have a lot to do with blood sugar. But ultimately, that's a sign that you have dysfunctional mitochondria.
Right.
But I didn't know that.
Of course.
So, of course, it was a super windy journey. And I have to tell you, I'll tell it as quick as I can. But when I was seeing a lot of people that were coming to me, especially women with chronic anxiety, and they had done everything, Dani. I mean, these are healthy women. They have good families. They are sharp, like they are high achievers usually, and it would like come out of nowhere and blindside them. And so we were trying to do all this gut healing and metabolic health. And I studied with Dr. Georgia Eid. So we would use ketogenic diet, all the things. And I was like, I'm missing something. But I also did not want to, I hesitated to call my niche anxiety or anxiety recovery because I didn't want to be known as the anxiety lady. I was like, I want to be known as like the light lady or the vitality lady or something like that. And then at the retreat, I was boohooing, trying not to but I was tearing up in your talk, and I kept nodding my head because I was like, yes, this is so true. And you said, oh, Kelli, the anxiety lady, is nodding her head. And it was the first time that somebody called me the anxiety lady like that. And I was like, hell yeah, that's who I am. That's exactly what I do, is I help people with chronic anxiety work their way back. And it's not even back, it's to something new for them, because sometimes people have been experiencing a low level chronic anxiety for their entire lives. Yeah. So that's the long story. Oh my God, here.
Yeah, I love that. And, embracing what you help people with is,
Yeah.
or where your heart is, it can change, but I think that it's really powerful that you've developed such a skill set to help people with these certain issues. And that's why I'm like, I really don't want to talk about blood sugar anymore. I'm so sick of it. But, I feel like I have to talk about some of it because I have so much expertise in it, and I really do like helping people with it. Of course, I want to talk about light. Of course, I want to talk about, things that are really lighting me up. I want to talk about the metaphysical reasons for some of these things. But I think that we can combine all of these things, and we can take people there, but help people know who we are by claiming, saying like, yeah, I help people with chronic anxiety, because people with that issue are really struggling. So what sort of were the common threads that you would see with your clients with anxiety, and how did that shift from like pre 2020 to post 2020, because that's what I talked about in my talk, that for a while I was working with people's food and nutrition, and they were crushing. I mean, people not losing their diagnosis of type 2 diabetes and reversing insulin resistance and all sorts of things, huge healings. So that's always been happening. But then there was just a shift. And there was a shift post 2020. I don't know exactly when it happened, but all of a sudden, I just got more complex cases. I got people who were doing a lot of this stuff that I taught on their own, and then having a lot of dysfunction from it, because I think that they were trying their best, but often using a toolbox that was not meant for them at that time. So, for example, people with high blood sugar and insulin and leptin have a whole different toolbox than my people who have low leptin, low insulin, low cortisol, blood sugar crashes. Like, and so these people they're sort of like pulling the wrong tools, and so it leads to a lot of dysfunction. So that was what I was seeing, and that sort of led me to look for more tools, and that's where I came into light and circadian rhythms. So what about you? What are you seeing with your anxiety people? How do they show up to you?
Yeah, well, it has shifted, and I kind of wonder, like, we could easily blame the time, the things that were going. We could blame a lot of things, but I
Mm-hmm.
actually think it was an up leveling. Like
Mm,
we're being called to up level, and it's been very uncomfortable.
yeah.
And I think all of us and practitioners, you as well, where it was like, okay, you've been rocking along, helping people, and now we're all being called to do something different because, and you're right, a lot of the cases, but I had been seeing, so I've been in the business almost 30 years. So it's a long time, I'm old. And I saw more with the children, like over time, I kept seeing more and more kids were more anxious, more stressed. We see
Mm,
more depression in children, even before 2022,
yeah.
2020.
Yes.
So that might have been a slip that was important. There may be something about 2022 that we were all being called to up level.
Yeah.
And so
That's
it,
about when I saw it as well. Yeah.
yeah,
There
I
was a
just,
shift 2022, 23-ish for me.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I also felt the shift in me. And it's
Yeah.
hard because we were like, wait, I have the tools. And I was feeling that way with my own child was struggling with anxiety and all kinds of
Mm,
health issues. And I was using every tool, Dani, every tool in my box.
sure.
And, sometimes you're like, well, everybody's on their own journey. But that is when I started finding quantum. And I think we were called specifically because those are the tools that are now being required.
Yeah.
Because people, and the thing about anxiousness is that we all feel anxiousness. We're supposed to, when something's important to you, you can feel a little bit anxious about that. But we're not supposed to feel chronically anxious and depleted. And I think most of us 2020 did not help the situation, but we were already feeling the
Mm-hmm.
depletion before that,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then it really just kind of came to a head about 2022, where it was like, you know what? We need different tools. And
Yeah.
so for me, that doesn't make sense. I had seen, I think Carrie, and I had taken a workshop with Carrie Bennett.
Yeah.
I don't even remember which one. And I had already started getting interested in mitochondria. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why, but intuitively I was like, this just feels like this is a piece of the puzzle that might help somehow.
Yeah.
And then my son had a really bad day one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm signing up for whatever that thing is, that training thing,
Yeah.
because why not do another training? And I just fell in love with how I changed and what it
Yeah.
was doing for me and everything I wanted my child to do, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of what happened with my dad. Everything I wanted him to do, I was doing
Mm-hmm.
because he had pancreatic cancer. You don't survive that really.
Yeah.
Um,
Unfortunately.
but I wanted him to at least try all of the
Yeah.
things that I was doing and all the nutrition, and he just wasn't going to do it. And the
Mhm.
sort of the same thing my son has, he will do some, he's really into his nutrition, but and he did cold plunging and he will do red light and he will earth and he'll do some of the things. But I just started doing all of the quantum health strategies
Yeah.
that I was learning that I wanted him to do. And my
We can
life.
only lead, yeah, we can only lead a horse to water. And this is a common thing that comes up with a lot of people, that we can't, unless your child is like a total dependent because they're teeny
Young.
tiny,
Yeah.
that we can't really make any other human being do anything as much as we want to. And this has been something that I've had to learn over and over and over on this journey. And it is a real practice in letting go and turning your focus back to yourself. And so I love that you're like, well, if I want someone else to do this, I'm going to do it. And you just said, you were just saying that like it really helped you. So in what ways did it support you?
Yeah, I thought I was good. Like, I was like, "Oh, no, I take really good care of myself. I eat
I
really
eat so
well.
clean.
I'm
Yeah.
good." Yeah, and I just started well, I bought the red light like, a red light panel for
Yeah.
him, and he wasn't using it, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
there it is.
Yeah.
Mine's in the other room.
I'm
And he wasn't using it, and they're expensive, so I was like, "Well, I'm using this
going to
thing."
use this.
And I couldn't I'm telling you, Danny, like, I had good sleep before, but I would wake up, like, ready for the day.
Mhm.
And I say this all the time, but it was the most stressful time in my life. I've lost a best friend to cancer. I lost my dad to cancer. I've
So
been through
sorry.
enough stuff, right? Those were stressful times. Nothing was as stressful as having a child that was struggling with chronic illness. It really was a real lesson for me in nervous system regulation and practicing what I preach. So for me, I kept going. So I was already a sunrise person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out for sunrise religiously. I was already doing that. I had already increased my vitamin D naturally just by being outside in a bikini
Mm-hmm.
for months at a time because it was at 20 when I started. My blood vitamin D level was at 20, which is really low.
Uh-huh. And
And
what
I
did
was
you get it up to?
in the 60s.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd already done a lot of that and was already feeling great,
Mm-hmm.
I thought. And then when I added some of the other pieces to the puzzle and I started using red light therapy, and then I really got into blocking the blue light at night and started
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to my light environment, not just going out in the morning, not just trying to be outside during the day, but like really dialing in, supporting my circadian rhythms. Um, I've have a I've always had kind of a love-hate thing with fasting, but I really embrace circadian eating. And if I was going to fast, I did that from a circadian perspective where I would skip dinner
Mm-hmm.
instead of breakfast. Um, no more fasted. Very rarely would I do a fasted workout in the mornings, like all the things that we know make a
Yeah.
really big difference.
Yeah. No,
And
you can, and you don't feel afraid to list them. Some people maybe haven't heard all these.
haven't
So yeah.
heard. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of all of them
Yeah.
because,
No, those are helpful though.
yeah.
Grounding, I'm sure you did more
Oh,
of.
earthing, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I did some earthing when I
Mm-hmm.
bought the earthing sheets, and but I mean, I got really, really consistent, I think is
Yeah.
the best word,
Yeah.
because I was I was into it, but I wasn't always that consistent.
Yeah.
So I got really consistent with the earthing and the light and the blocking the blue light and
Mm-hmm.
using. And I did. I mean, we went to nutritional therapy school. I liked the supplement. I play around with the supplements, and I
Mm-hmm.
did some methylene blue. I've
Mm-hmm.
tried. I like hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, and I do all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
crazy crap to my
Yeah.
water. Um, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
and so you said that it really helped your sleep. What were some other changes that you noticed? Because you said you felt really good. Did you like notice an up leveling? You said you were more
Yeah.
emotionally, I guess, stable or able to tolerate things at that time
Yeah.
too?
And I had done so much. I've done my own trauma
Mm-hmm.
healing. I've done all the mindfulness and the stress based, all the
Mm-hmm.
things. And I felt like I'm pretty regulated, and that even improved. So
Wow.
my more stable in terms of mood, just feeling more capable. It's not like I was having a lot of highs and lows or anything like that, but I can be like, my family will laugh. I can make a picnic a stressful event because I want it to be a certain way. And but I think that's not who I really am. I think I got more and more in touch with who I really am. The essence of my being is actually more like totem of a turtle, just slow and steady,
Hmm.
not in a rush,
Hmm.
easy. Actually really easygoing.
Yeah.
And I saw more and more of that, especially in this time when I needed that. I needed to be that kind of grounded.
Yeah. That's
So,
beautiful. It
yeah,
sounds like also that is a very common sort of trauma response is that we have to control everything around us because there's something that beneath that like what are we if is there shame beneath that, like I'm not okay how I am, I need all these things to go well, or I'm going to get in trouble, or I won't be loved, or so it sounds like that type of thing is rooted in some maybe childhood trauma. And so to give you the capacity to, it sounds like you had more capacity to hold stress, which is huge. And that's
exactly.
what I'm finding. And that's what a lot of my clients do not have. Like all my low leptin people and who have been burning the candle at both ends, doing all this fasting and workouts and doing all the things. That's like people wear that as a badge of honor. And I understand, like, I don't really get a lot of people who struggle with consistency. I have people who are on the opposite end of that, where they're consistent to, I don't want to say to a fault, but consistent to a point where they are overriding the messages that their body is telling them because they think they have to. And I can't tell you how much that theme has come up in my life over the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, just realizing all these spaces in my life where I'm doing something because I thought that that was my only option. And so I've been sort of handed this mirror to be like, oh, I don't have to do this. I can say no to this. Like when I tell people, I had this client who was having horrible hypoglycemia, just crashes all day long. And she would wake up and do a fasted HIIT workout. And then she's like, I would feel pretty good after the workout. And then it would just be terrible the whole rest of the day and night.
Right.
And I told her, I'm like, I don't know if you know, but these HIIT workouts fasted are really making things a lot worse for you. And she started crying because I kind of gave her permission to listen to what she already knew deep down, that her body can't handle that right now. Her body can't handle a workout. And so many people, Kelly, are telling me that, like, it's honestly for a lot of my hypoglycemics, the movement and the workout, they're so committed to that. They're like, well, I have blood sugar problems. How can I not work out right now? And then these are all the people where it's actually making them worse. And the best thing they could do is to rest, because we'll come back to that when you develop the capacity. And that's what this stuff does, all this quantum stuff. It gives you more energy, it regulates your body so you can have more capacity.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you have similar experiences to this.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's why the whole time you were talking, I was like, uh huh, uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do not have the people who don't know about
Hmm.
all the health things. They do all the health things, overdo them. They're
Hmm.
high achievers, typically, the people that come to me. And so they go at it with the same kind of, and I was just thinking about consistency because I did a post in my stories the other day about consistency. And then I started thinking, because most of my clients struggle with overthinking
Hmm.
and then getting into kind of a spiral place
Hmm.
because they're extremely intelligent and they're very consistent,
Hmm.
but they're consistently doing things that are actually making things worse.
Yeah.
Same. It
Yes.
may not be a HIIT workout, it might be, some other thing.
Yeah.
But you're right. A lot of what I do is basically give people permission
Hmm.
to really return to listening to their own bodies.
Yeah.
And when people, and sometimes people just need to hear, like, the thing that you've been thinking is making it worse. You're
You're
right.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you just said. Like
Mhm.
your people typically are overthinkers.
Yeah.
I heard a great saying that overthinkers are underfeelers. And I felt called out by that because don't worry, you're not alone if you fall
Yeah.
into that category. That's
Yeah.
probably, maybe it's you. It's
Oh, yeah.
definitely
Oh,
me.
yeah.
And so I'm working on that. But I think when we have overthinkers, we are spending too much time in our head.
Yes.
Like we are spending so much time in our head thinking about things. We are not spending enough time in our
Mhm.
body, connecting, listening
Yeah.
to what is this symptom telling me? What do I feel about this? Does it feel right now for me to skip dinner? Does it feel like I could just push through work and not eat lunch, for example, and just eat it 2 hours later? Is that something that I can do and feel good? And if you don't know, you could always try it and then get real curious after, right? So it's not like, oh my God, I did the thing. We don't have to freak out. We can look at everything as information. So, okay, I skipped lunch. I pushed it 2 hours. How do I feel during that time? How do I feel after that time? How did I sleep? So that's how I tell people to look at what happened that whole day and night. Was that too much for you? Do you feel like it made you worse, or do you feel like it's making you better? And sometimes those endorphins we get from working out or being in midday sunlight, they can trick us a little bit. But if you feel crashing, if you feel depleted, if you feel tired, if you feel more anxious, if you're having more blood sugar crashes, chances are it was too much for your body. It was just too much for your body.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think something that you said, I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm resonating with all of it because, of
The
course, this is
underfeeling.
right. This is, of course, why I attract these kind of clients because, hello, it's a mirror. Yeah.
Exactly. Same. I attract tons of recovering perfectionists, type A personality, people pleasers.
Yeah.
Hello, that's what I'm working on. So, yeah, I'm not better than anyone. I might just be one or two steps ahead, or maybe you're ahead in some other area, right? I'm always learning from my clients. I love it.
I do. I love to learn from my clients too. And I think you mentioned just staying really curious, being open and curious,
Hmm.
but also returning to the body. Like I had done a lot of work around shame, resilience. I used to work with Brene Brown. I did all the stuff.
Amazing. I love
And
Brittany.
you kind of feel at some point in your 50s, I'm just saying, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I've done all that. And
Hmm.
then when it comes back around to be reviewed in a deeper way, it's like, oh, wow, we're never really done with doing the shame work and the trauma work and all of the things. And it doesn't have to be treacherous and hard and
Hmm.
long. It's really more about staying open and staying curious and listening to your body.
Yeah.
And I had a long history of going straight to my head.
Hmm.
As a therapist too, early in my early days, I was always like, what do you think? What do you want to do? I
Hmm.
just had a very hard time with feelings, even other people's feelings.
Yeah.
So I resonate with that. And a lot of the clients that I work with, well, I have this little overthinking tool that I created because so
Uh-huh.
much of anxiety recovery work is serious. Like this shit is hard.
Yeah.
And we do a lot with digging into shame and shame messages and self love and all, I mean, like radical self love, not like, oh yeah, I love myself, but I mean like deep.
Yeah.
So,
Let's
and
talk after this because
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Keep
it's
going.
it was a piece that I kind of glossed over for a long time and then realized
Mm,
it's a piece you can't gloss over if you want lasting recovery from really anything.
wow.
So my point being like a lot of it is heavy
Yeah.
and it feels like work because
Mm-hmm.
it is. And so I wanted to create something really fun
Mm-hmm.
and something that doesn't take a long time and you can learn about yourself and you can actually appreciate the benefits of being an overthinker and
Yeah.
your overthinking style. And
Mm-hmm.
so I created this overthinking style. There are 5 styles, and you take a little assessment, and it's quick and easy and fun. And it's been really refreshing because I
Yeah.
have old time clients that have signed up for it, and they're like, "Guess what my style is?" And they're like actually having fun instead of labeling yourself because you don't want to label like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I have blood sugar regulation issues. Like for
Mm-hmm.
people who, oh, I have this issue, so I can't. It's like, yeah, no, that's just a signal from your body
Mm-hmm.
trying to help you. And so
Yeah.
overthinking is the same thing. It's not about labeling, but it is about embracing who we really are and paying attention to the body and actually making it more fun. So
Yeah.
it's not all so heavy.
I
Yeah.
love that. So what are some of the styles?
Spinner. I created funny names
Yeah.
because just to make it more fun, but like
Uh-huh.
the spinner, I am the doom flavor thinker, so I have that one.
Okay.
Yeah, my anxiety, I always say I shouldn't say my because I don't like
The
necessarily
anxiety you feel.
the anxiety I was experiencing.
Uh-huh.
So my experience around 2021,
Mm-hmm.
like just my anxiousness was heightened. And
Mm-hmm.
we were past like the really scary parts, right? So it
Yeah.
was kind of interesting. And yes, I was perimenopausal. I just turned 50, like all the things. But
Mm-hmm.
there was something really different about this. It had kind of an anticipatory anxiety is what it's technically called, but it
Yeah.
had a little bit of a impending doom flavor. So that's
Mm.
one. And I just noticed, and I was with my mom for a while. I'm back and forth trying helping my mom, taking care
Mm-hmm.
of my mom, and she has the exact same overthinking style. I'm like, yeah, there's where I get it. That's cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
um but so the spinner, the over the I'm trying to think of all of a sudden they, of course when you ask me they all fly out of my head, right?
Yeah, no,
um
but that's helpful to kind of see. I didn't, yeah, like to label it that your thoughts are about impending doom and this worry about what's to come, or maybe
yeah.
rehashing more past events.
Yes.
So I can
That's,
see that like some people might be more stuck in the past, ruminating on those things
uh-huh.
versus more forward think. I think I'm way more forward, anticipatory thinking,
Thinking, yeah.
for sure.
And every single one has benefits, and so
Mhm.
that's what's interesting.
Yeah.
And also it can be kind of fun to like, what else could I do to help when
Yeah.
this is happening so I can pivot out of the whole point is to pivot out of that space,
Hmm.
without losing the benefits that you get from having that style, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, my natural tendency is to want to push away or to hate these certain things about myself that I don't deem as, good or perfect or whatever it is. And I recently learned that it's like, okay, there's this part of me that doesn't feel good enough or that's really anxious. And my initial thought is to be like, oh, I hate that, but like, I wish it wasn't there. And that is kind of the opposite of what you need to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have to love that piece because it's trying to keep you safe. So
That's
you want to talk about that?
100%. That's
Yeah.
any of these parts of ourselves. The problem is actually in the relegating it to the
This
basement
is
or
bad.
this is
Yeah.
bad.
This
And
shouldn't be happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, all the messages that we then, even unconsciously or subconsciously, however you want to look at that, that we say to ourselves,
Hmm.
that stuff is running all the time.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the current. I call that like the undercurrent. So from a frequency standpoint, that's what we're running underneath. So no wonder we get symptoms because the body's like, hey, I
Something's not right.
not, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not about not, yes,
Yeah.
it's out of balance. It's not harmonized, right? So
Mm.
these parts of ourselves, and I learned a lot of this from Aaron,
Hmm.
our friend
Yeah.
Aaron,
Yes.
really like the dark bits that we try to shove and hide away. That's what's causing so much of the problems for us.
Yeah.
And it creates within the quantum communication, we can either have a lot of coherence and a
Hmm.
lot of like quick communication. It's quick anyway. But if we
Yeah.
have these places where we have been hiding stuff, pushing away, or hating parts of ourselves, or it doesn't even have to be hate, but just really not
Being
appreciating or,
annoyed. Yeah.
yeah, then yeah, those parts can create static. They can create little, it almost feels energetically like a knot or
Yeah.
something that's in there, right? So I'm not a
Yeah.
massage therapist, but I'm guessing that's where we would feel all that in the fascia, but even
Or even
energetic
our biofield, right?
biofield.
Yeah,
Right,
like
of course.
Eileen McCusick, who does
Of
the
course.
biofield tuning, she
Yeah.
takes a tuning fork and will just move it through someone's field. Yeah, and you hear it, the change
Changing.
tone when it hits a certain, area. So yes, either in our field, in our bodies,
Mhm.
somewhere around us, there is a space of incoherence.
Yep.
And I agree with you that it
Mhm.
doesn't allow us to move through it. We're just pushing, tensing against. What you
Yeah,
resist persists. Like, it
exactly.
doesn't go away. And so that's why I have all my clients doing journal speak. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Nicole Sachs' work and John Sarno. And I mean, journal speak is so helpful, I think, for so many of my people, because a lot of them have done a lot of therapy, but
Yeah.
you are the only one who can feel your feelings.
Hmm.
And so I think that we try to outsource it, like, oh, I need to go to a therapist, I need to learn this technique. But I think that at the end of the day, all of those things can be so helpful and so needed and so important for so many people.
Yeah.
It's not to take that away, but I also think that
Mhm.
there's this huge piece where we're like, to work on our side of the street, it's like I need to get in my body and know what I'm feeling. And if you said this to me 3 years ago, I would have been like, I have no idea what you're even talking about. Like, it wouldn't have even registered. Like, I am brand new to feeling my emotions, knowing I have emotions, any sort of somatic work. Like, I can actually feel emotions in my body. When I first started doing this, they were like, what color is it? Where is the emotion? I'm like, I don't like. Can you
What are
ask
these
me
people
what?
talking
I'm
about?
like, I'm bad at this. Like, immediately I'm like, oh my god, like, go into shame. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. Like, it was not helpful at first. So if you're like, all of this seems really overwhelming, you're in good company. We can
Yeah,
all learn, and
yeah.
it's a beautiful skill to develop.
I'm so glad that you point that out because, yeah, and then a lot of us we're like, I'm bad at meditation. I'm just bad at these things, but there's no good or bad of it.
Yeah,
And it is, if you've spent most of your life not feeling, like feeling is really an interesting experience
yeah,
and it can be quite uncomfortable. So even if you just for 2 or 3 seconds
yeah,
hold like, and where is it in your body? And if you're like, I don't know, that's okay.
yeah.
And if it doesn't have a color, that's cool.
That's okay too. It doesn't
That's
have to.
okay.
Yeah,
All of that's okay. But it really is about harmonizing and embracing and radical self-love. Like
yeah,
really embracing that it's even okay that you also then went into a shame storm of like, yeah, I don't bad at this. This is I don't even know what these people are talking about and
yeah,
all of it's that's okay.
yeah.
All wherever you are. I think that's what I was thinking most about consistency. Like we can be really consistent with things that are good for us
Mhm.
and we can be doing things consistently really well that are not good for us. But also, I truly believe that wherever we are is exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it's okay if you're in a place where you're consistently doing things that you had no idea, or maybe you do know, that are not good for you.
Hmm.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's that life unfolds in spirals. We get the same
Right.
lesson with fresh eyes all the time. So I
Yeah.
love that analogy. It's like, oh, I'm coming back. Oh, here's this thing again. Oh, I thought I learned that lesson. Back to. And
Mhm.
so we can look at it like, oh, this is a normal human thing. This isn't like Danny failing, right? And so we can anticipate that things are going to be up and down, that there's going to be expansion followed by contraction, because that's just the laws of the universe. And you are not different from or separate than the freaking universe, right?
Mhm.
So, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, Kelli, is a lot of times what I notice about myself, I've been seeing this as a theme, that my tendency when I first started sort of learning about emotions is to be like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling an emotion that I don't like, let's say anxiety. And
Mhm.
so my initial thought was like, what can I do to get rid of this?
Right. Of
Like,
course. Me
this is,
too.
I don't want to feel like this. What can I do? Can I meditate? Can I go for a walk? Can I oh, okay. So all these healthy habits, is this a form of actually avoiding the feeling? So how do you deal with that? Let's chat about that.
Yay. Yes. Yes. I was the same way. I'm really good at problem solving. So if there's an emotion that would pop up that I didn't want, I was going to problem solve that sucker right on out of there. And it just takes a while to realize that it is there for your safety and it's communication. Your body is really smart and your body doesn't lie to you.
Yeah.
So the mind makes up stories, but the body doesn't lie. And so to really befriend those signals and to know that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking an approach of like, I wonder what my body needs right now.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it needs for me to just be with this feeling that sucks right now.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it does need, maybe you need to go touch some earth. I really feel like there's nothing better than touching earth, bare skin. Doesn't have to be your feet, people. It can be whatever you got. But bare skin, touching skin and feeling what you feel.
Yeah.
So if something comes up, whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable, it always seems to help me. And I know this is a doing, but for those of us who want to do something, go touch the earth and then be with that emotion if you can. And I really feel like emotions, there's kind of two basic emotions that run undercurrent. That's fear and love. And we could probably break some up and everything else kind of, but then the feelings bubble up from there. And so I always kind of go, wait, is this an emotion? Is this fear? Is this coming from a place of love or fear, and not trying to change anything? I do think that's what's really helpful about mindfulness. It's like, it's just being in the moment, this moment, the one that we actually only have, with suspending judgment and just saying, you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with asking, what's the communication about? And is there something my body is asking for right now?
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautifully said. It's about getting curious and sitting with. And lately I've been trying to talk more to my inner child and say like, oh, you feel a lot of fear right now. Like, oh my goodness, you're feeling like, oh wow, we're feeling a lot of anxiety right now, and just naming it. And like trying our best to name what's coming up, or like, oh, you're feeling off right now. Like if that's the best you can get, the closest you can get to naming the emotion. I mean, I remember my first like 40 sessions of somatic therapy. She's like, what are you feeling? I'm like, could you pull up the emotions wheel? And I had to be able to put the emotions wheel and be like, oh, I don't know. I never knew what I was feeling. So, I mean, this is like, if you're new to this stuff, I can't even tell you how like regressed I had to be with all this stuff, because I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm feeling. I don't even know the names of all the emotions. So I would look, I'm like, I guess this. I'm telling you, it gets easier and easier to name, but to call it something and to, again, be with it. And maybe sometimes it is so intense that you need to focus on slowing your breathing and sitting on the earth and doing some vagus nerve stuff, orienting, whatever you need to do, whatever strategies that you have. There is a time and a place for those, because our body can only handle, can sit and be with a certain emotion for a certain amount of time, and our capacity starts to widen. I was told by my first therapist that, she didn't say it like this, I said it like this, but basically if there was like if we put sitting with and feeling and understanding our emotions into like school, so like preschool to, you know, college, I was in the preschool of this whole thing. And people are like, don't label it like that. I'm like, that's, you know, it helps me to know, like,
it
okay,
makes you feel better.
I'm going to get, like, I'm going to learn this just like I would. So I'm not going to expect to be an expert or a master at this right now. Here I am, like starting with baby steps, and I can start to actually be with emotions a little bit longer. And then sometimes I'll be crying and crying and crying, and I yawn, and because I think my vagus nerve is kicking in to calm me down, to be like, okay, that's all we can handle. Well, we need a short break, and we could go back into the crying in just a bit. But that keeps happening. And I feel like my body's starting to like regulate me. It's like, okay, we can do this. And then I need to come out of it, or I'll look at my cat and be like anchored in this like loving feeling. And it's like, okay, maybe being with the cat or, you know, someone you love can feel like, okay, I can hold this while also holding love. Like, I'm here, I am safe, and I feel all these big emotions. So
Yeah. And
I
I
don't know.
think,
This is just my experience lately. I've
so
been really
good.
diving
It's
into this.
so good. I'm so glad you're like sharing all this stuff because it's really important because people don't know and they start on this and you kind of feel like you're losing it a little bit when you first start. You
Yeah.
don't know whether you're doing it right or right, and there isn't a right or wrong, but
Hmm.
you're bringing up a lot of really important things. Like sometimes you just can't, and it's okay. Like we dissociate. I used to think when I was early in the field, like dissociation was bad. Dissociation is great because it's how we naturally can say enough. The body can say that was enough. I can't handle anymore. But
Yeah.
it's small little increments, and you're right. I think of it as kind of a deepening and widening. So yes, it's
Yeah.
kind of this circular, but it's a deepening and widening in terms of capacity to
Yeah.
hold
Yes.
different things. But I do love an anchor. So for you, like the looking at your cat or having something that feels, because it's all at the end of the day, Dani, it's all about creating a sense of felt safety.
Hmm.
So we have lots of tools that can do that, but it really doesn't matter what it is as
Yeah.
long as it reminds you that you are currently safe. And so, and being able to hold something really intense that doesn't feel so great right up against love
Hmm.
or a feeling of connection or some other joy or whatever, to be able to hold both of those at the same time,
Hmm.
that really does, it gets easier and easier. But
Yeah.
also naming, when I first started, when I first met Brene Brown
Hmm.
and was, you know,
I
and I
can't
was,
believe you met her. I'm a huge fan of hers.
yes,
I
yes,
also
she's
love she's
really
an
cool.
Enneagram 1 like me. It helps me
Uh-huh.
not feel so much shame around being an Enneagram 1
Oh
and she's the
yeah.
shame person, so it all works. But go on.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that she's an Enneagram 1 because, you know, she's got the way and we all just need to go. Well, she's funny like that. But when I first met her, I was like, I think I need to understand this shame stuff
Hmm.
personally. And then maybe I'll figure, you know, maybe it all incorporated in what I do professionally because I don't think I think I called, I think anger people call shame different names, but I didn't
Hmm.
even have a name. I was like, oh yeah, I think that's what I say when I say me doing my thing. That's, you know, like I didn't even have names. And I have to tell you, I had to carry around the feeling chart when I was a new therapist because I didn't even have words for all the feelings. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And when I started doing all that work and doing
Hmm.
really deep shame work, it's interesting to really tease out what it is. And they call it what it is,
Yeah.
especially in shame resilience, anxiety resilience, like being able to name it to tame it is just like a popular thing, but being able to call it, and I don't care if you call it Harry or Sam, if that feels better for you, but I do think it's important to call it what it is
Yeah.
and to be able to identify it and then hold space for that, even if it's just a few seconds at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I love that. Beautiful.
yeah.
So there is I learned that the sort of deeper metaphysical reason for something like hypoglycemia is actually fear. So, and fear of like not having enough. So, whether that's like energy or love or time or just something, this deep internal sense of unsafety. And interestingly enough, that's also what drives low leptin is like this, there's a potentially like a scarcity piece and or overdoing and sort of running from tigers all the time. And often I find my hypoglycemics have a ton of anxiety. So is there anything you want to share about like this whole piece and how you see the leptin and all that stuff sort of flowing together?
Yeah. Well, it just gets more and more fascinating by the second, right,
Yeah.
Danny? It's all connected. And we're like, of course, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But it really is a place of fear. And I even think about, like, you know, if you grew up without having secure food, there could be so many things, and it doesn't have to be big T traumas. I want people to realize a lot of people will come and say, well, I didn't really have any trauma. I'm like, well, you were born, right?
Mhm.
So let's just, like,
Kelly, I used to think that I'm like, why am I relating to all these things with childhood trauma? Like, I thought I dissociated and was like secretly like like abused as a kid in some way because I was like, how come I'm relating to all of this? And then I realized all my trauma was like little t insidious stuff that was not obvious to the like the untrained eye. So
well, even
yes.
for you, yeah, I can't tell you, this is such a big theme. Like,
Hmm.
people think it has to be big events, like
Yeah.
a abuse, and not even that, like a car accident or any of these things. And it's
Yeah.
not. It's insidious, though. That's what's
Hmm.
interesting, is that it's these little things that
Death by
keep.
1,000 paper cuts.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. And it's
Hmm.
just when you have, just a pile on top of, like, where you don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And it's not even that you're not safe, because you are, but your nervous system is constantly getting the message that it's not safe. And
Yeah.
then we could even take it quantum. Like, if you think about how many danger on a cellular, even subcellular level,
Yeah.
that there we have danger signaling. Of course you're going to be hypoglycemic. Of course you are going to have anxious, is going to be your main way of functioning, and you're not going to know any differently because it's the main way that you wake up every day. And
Hmm.
that was what was so surprising for me, and that's what I love to share with people. It's
Yeah.
like, it doesn't have to be dramatic, and you don't have to have big things that were in your life, but you do start to connect dots of, like, when did you feel the best in your life? And usually people say, oh, at camp, or in the summer, or on vacations, or these times when you were
Right when I
out.
moved to Miami, the
Right, when you're in
I
the
was outside all the
all
time.
the time.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so people start to piece it together because they think it's the boyfriend that broke up with them, or this relationship, or a parent, and it can be, but it
Hmm.
also can be the fact that your cells have not had the input. Your mitochondria literally don't have the inputs they need to be
Yeah.
able to make water and energy, and so you're depleted, your voltage is low,
Hmm.
so now you're going to be staticky, and that's
Yes.
going to look like, and that's going to create fear. And at
Hmm.
the base is fear. And then all kinds of things are going to show up from there.
Exactly. Our mitochondria are sensing our internal and external environment and scanning for things like threats and scanning for incoherent, this doesn't make sense, or this is missing, or
Mhm.
like this cue, or it's just getting mixed messages like, okay, guess we should be doing this right now because we have a phone in front of our face at 10 o'clock at night. And the body's like, okay, I guess it's 2 p.m. I was really ready to wind down, but it's not. Like, that can cause so much stress on the body, and the stress can be then manifested as anxiety, like, hey, something feels off, like that's the mitochondria saying like something feels off, something doesn't feel right. Like, I always got shocked when I learned this, like, it doesn't sound like, oh wow, that sounds terrible, but one of the most stressful things that your body could undergo is not knowing what time it is.
Yeah, mismatched circadian rhythms. It's
Exactly.
one of the bigger stressors.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so overlooked. It's certainly overlooked in mental health. People just
Yeah.
don't connect this. They think it's all chemical and mechanical stuff.
Yeah.
Like, nobody looks at the, not nobody, we do,
Yeah.
but it's newer for people to start looking at the body as electrical. And
Mm-hmm.
we are really electrical first. And so I'm amazed. Like, when I start getting curious about, like, panic attacks, for instance, I was like, I want to understand this from a quantum perspective. Like, what's
Mm.
happening?
Yeah.
What is actually happening? Because what I was taught is somewhat helpful, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time I go into looking at something, all roads lead back to mitochondria. Bottom line. So if you really want to help yourself on every level, then learn about how to support your mitochondria, which is supporting your circadian rhythms.
Yes. Period. Yeah. Love it.
Period.
Yeah. And like you said, just sort of referencing back to something you said earlier about
Yeah.
blocking blue light at night,
Yeah.
we talk a lot about light, but the darkness is equally as important. And that is the case with so many of these extremes and opposites that we find in nature, right? Summer is important, and so is winter, hot and cold, dark and light, like scarcity, feasting, famine. If you notice, there are these patterns throughout nature. And what are we trying to do as humans? We're trying to eat the exact same diet. We live in 72 degrees Fahrenheit. We like do the exact same fasting routine, exact same workout routine, exact same whatever. Like we try to keep everything the same. And I get it, because life is stressful enough. We have so much on our plates. We're just trying to manage and be able to do all the things. But I'm sort of suggesting that you don't need to do all the things all the time, that there are, like you said earlier, seasons for things in life, and that maybe this is a season where you need to slow the heck down,
Mhm.
right? And it's like, I need to go inward. I need to be in my feminine. I need to practice receiving. And maybe that looks like receiving the sun's light, receiving the electrons flowing through the bottom of my feet as I step on the grass. Maybe that's what your body needs more than anything, right?
Yeah. 100%. You're always, or I'm always like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think a couple things just to reiterate is that we could also talk about that the light, the dark in terms of emotion. Like we really
Yes.
need both. It really is about the safety isn't about having less fear. It's about embracing the fear because that's a really important feature that we have as much as the love. So
Yeah, good
what I
luck getting through life without feeling fear. Like, it's not going to go well. It's
yes,
not going to go well.
it's keeping
Yeah.
you alive, but
Yes.
also um, another just what you were talking about. Okay, it just flew out of my head.
Well,
Was
you were talking about the
okay.
emotions, the lightness and the dark, these opposites. Um,
Yeah, and I think also just I love talking about there's a season for
mm,
different. We started our conversation about there is a season for healing and there's a season for maintenance, but also what's really I don't think it's ironic, that's probably not the right word, but the more we embrace circadian rhythms and we
hmm.
that is what makes us adaptable. So when we were
Yes.
like, life is stressful enough, I'm going to stay in 72
Yeah.
degree weather all the time, that actually is hurting you by creating more stress. So
Yeah.
now you're not as resilient in that bandwidth that we were talking about originally. Like you're constricting and having more chaotic, staticky, as opposed to being more expansive and grounded.
Yes, that is a really, really good point, that all of this stuff keeps expanding your capacity to hold stress, to hold
That's right.
emotions, to deal with the occasional dessert. Like, I
Exactly.
didn't gain weight from that dessert, like I was fine. I didn't have a blood sugar crash. I was fine,
Yeah.
right? But if I do that every single night, all the time, it would
Yeah.
probably lead to dysfunction, right?
Right.
And so it's about knowing when to pull back, when to pour your energy into something. And I think that's what we try to help people navigate. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
like, we can help you see, like, oh, this is too much. But I
Mhm.
love that idea of like deepening the capacity to navigate life, because it is really hard. And so when we try to stay comfortable all the time, that's actually, like you said, lessening our capacity.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
actually making things worse. So if people are listening and they're like, that sounds hard doing all those things, it's actually super simple,
Hmm.
really easy to do, and it's going to increase your stress resilience. So it's
Hmm.
worth it.
Yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I talk about all these strategies in my other episodes. So, do you want to just rattle off a couple, just for people in case they're a little bit newer, of things that they can try circadian wise related to emotions, that would be, let's say, your top 5 to 10 strategies to
Right.
support your body, whether it comes to like that resilience or anxiety, mental health, metabolic health, all that.
Yeah. So I always start with light. It's where I started.
Mm,
And I just think it makes the biggest impact that I have seen with in terms of emotion and mood and stable mood. So all of them. I do think light, water, earth, food, and breath. Those are my
Mhm.
5. I always say just bring it back to those 5 and pick which one resonates with you. If you're like, I'm really interested in water, what are they talking about with water? Then learn about that first.
Yeah.
It's not just about hydration,
Mhm.
regular hydration, but that's a good place to start, right?
Yeah.
Is to go, okay, well, figuring out your light environment and just taking that seriously. You don't have to know everything about everything.
Mhm.
Just know that getting out in an early morning light is going to set the tone for the whole day, and it's going to help your neurotransmitters, your hormones, everything work a little bit better. So I would start there, is just dialing in being out in early light and then blocking the blue light at night. Those that is alone is going to make a huge impact
Yeah.
on just about everything in terms of emotion.
I agree. And UVA light is really, really important for mental health. And one of the things I think
Right.
I always found really interesting is that when people are prescribed medications for anxiety and depression, they're told you have to take this in the morning. And meanwhile, that's when that UVA window of light is. And I think that that's not a coincidence. Same with thyroid meds right
Right.
there in the morning, right?
Right.
So, can you tell us a little bit, just like a little crash course on UVA and how it's
UVA.
really supportive for your mental health?
Yeah, so UVA is about an hour after sunrise. You want is the UVA rise, which is a really helpful time. It's the light frequencies that are available at that time of the day, and you don't have to be like in the sun. It can be cloudy, rainy, just but getting out for some of that natural light. That UVA light is most associated with focus and mood. So it's going to help with serotonin production. It's going to help with releasing when to release what, but also that early morning light helps your body know to pack up melatonin, which is melatonin's a fantastic hormone for you to have, not just for sleep. It's not just about sleep. So really helpful in the signaling throughout the day, but that UVA is going to be really helpful. There's also UVA light at the end of the day. There's usually about an hour after sunrise and an hour before sunset. And sometimes people like to start with the one in the evening because they just,
Hmm.
whatever, they can't
Hmm.
get themselves out in the morning. I like the UVA rise, but I'm also like, whatever you can do, just start
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's a good time to get out.
Yeah,
And
you get benefits no matter when you're outside. I just think that the benefits are even more like tenfold, a
yeah,
hundredfold when it's really early. But yeah, that UVA light, driving the conversion of different neurotransmitters to make serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and endorphins. It's like, yeah, I'll take that little cocktail if you're, it's free. I mean, it's amazing.
yeah,
And, people who identify as having ADHD and these
yeah,
dopamine issues and whatever, it's like, or is your light environment just really off, right? And so for some
yeah,
people, that's the case. Not all, obviously, but some people, these things, we don't think that they can be helped. But I think every single person probably has the experience of sticking their face in the sun and laying there for a minute and feeling just like, why does this feel so good? It's
a
like we
good,
were we
yeah,
were built to be addicted to the sun, you
yeah.
know?
And I do think, it's interesting too that UV, not UVA, but red light, and particularly infrared on the belly helps diversify the gut microbiome. So it does on our skin and in our eyes, but I just think the more skin we can get out there, because for years I was
Yes.
hiding my belly. After I had kids, I was like, oh, we don't need to be putting this out there anymore. And now I'm in the smallest bikini possible because I just want
Same.
to, or just lift your shirt in the morning and get out there for a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. I have a friend and she said that she struggled with her weight her whole life and she's like my stomach has literally never seen the light of day.
Yeah.
And that's a big issue
Yes.
because UV, I mean, especially the UV light that does not penetrate clothes, hence why we get tan lines. That is really powerful for, the gut microbiome and
Mhm.
for burning fat and all sorts of things. And so
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, a lot of people who are in bigger bodies, they tend to cover up, and it's like, we want that going through. So they do have tan through swimsuits and all that. Like, I
All the
don't
things,
have
yeah.
one, but I need to get one because I look like I'm wearing a white bikini when I take that off, because I mean, I get the smallest ones, but I'm pretty well endowed in the top. And so I have a lot of skin that's not being shown and that needs light. So yeah, exposing as much of your skin as possible is really important.
Yeah. Just little
Amazing.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little things.
Do the things.
Exactly.
Do what you can do. Yeah.
So, what are you working on, Kelly? Where can people find you? Tell us
We're
all about
always
that.
working on things. So everything I'm
Right?
working on right now is really for anxiety recovery. So
Mm-hmm.
anxiety-recovery.com is the website. I also have a podcast, need to get you on the podcast, Quantum Mental Health. So yeah, that's where people can come check it out. I'm mostly on Instagram. I love to interact with people on Instagram, so come see me over there. It's Dr._Kelly with an I. You're
Okay.
Danny with an I, Kelly with an
Yes,
I. Yeah.
that's right. Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. So, thank you so much for sharing. We will link everything in the show notes. And I'm excited. If you guys are struggling with anxiety, go see Kelly. She's a wealth of knowledge and has a lot of tools to help support you. And so, thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me.